Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And this will be the late autumn, early winter, or middle winter posting, which will lead us through to Christmas time, I guess. So, after the Millennium Falcon kit bash, I said I would not do another kit bash. Well, I kind of fibbed because I have had another idea, and I'll show you what it is. So here we have the Star Destroyer. Yes, this is the Revel Star Destroyer. And I'm not going to be kit bashing this one. This is to show you the idea I've had. Because what I was able to pick up very recently for a surprisingly smaller amount than I thought I was going to pay for is the large Revel Imperial Star Destroyer, which was based on the Russian version. You know, the 1/2700th scale Star Destroyer. And my intention is to use that kit to kit bash and produce a larger dreadnought. And I'll show you the idea I'm having because I want to go back to the smaller version and show you what I mean. So I mentioned before when I was doing the Invictus some time ago that my gripe about the Star Destroyer design was that it was very brick shaped. It had a lot of right angles, and this illustrates it quite nicely. So you've got a flat flat plane here, then a right angle going down, so it's like a kind of a wall, and again flat right angle, flat right angle, and it looks rather like a pagoda. And I just didn't like that kind of shape. I wanted more angles and more 45-degree angles and textures on it, and curves. And also, looking at the conning tower, I just felt the conning tower was out of proportion with the rest of the destroyer, the rest of the hull. It makes the destroyer, to my mind, look smaller and less imposing if the conning tower is that size. So, this is my idea for a kit bash. I'm going to increase the size of the look of the Star Destroyer by reducing the size of the conning tower, and I'll show you what I mean. So off camera, I have been starting to construct the larger Star Destroyer here, and putting in the side panels, which I know, yes, they are at right angles, but I'm going to kit bash greeblies and stuff around the edges to kind of get rid of this right angleness and put more 45-degree angles into the sides. And then using my famous little toy that I picked up, which I thought was very well detailed, I'm going to put that on top here. And as you can see, the conning tower is a lot smaller, which gives the impression that the Star Destroyer itself is going to be a lot bigger. And again, with lots of greeblies, because I'm going to greeble out along the top, coming down, greebling along here, giving it more of a using my World War II battleship designs, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. I hope to do a more detailed and a more kind of in proportion Star Destroyer, which I think is going to work very nicely. And the detail along the sides of this larger Star Destroyer, they work with the detailing along the toy as well. It does fit. They marry together. There's not a lot of difference in the level of detail, in the sense that the scale of the detail is more or less the same. So it will marry together. It will work, and that's what I intend to do. And what I intend to finally, hopefully, end up with is what well, I'll show you something that looks like this. We've come downstairs to my little display room, and I've just got out my small Star Destroyer, which I made many years ago. And you'll see that what I did here was I got the this original Star Destroyer, which was the episode 2 Star Destroyer, and I built it up with lots of World War II Greeblies from battleships, and produced this kind of larger kind of dreadnought kind of feel to it, which I really liked the look of that. And I say, no right angles, it's all sort of different 45-degree angles, bits and pieces, and so on and so forth, which I want my one upstairs to look like. And you'll notice that the conning tower is quite small, but fits in the scale, so that the scale of the Star Destroyer itself looks a lot bigger than normal. You know, it looks a lot bigger than it actually is. So anyway, so that's the idea. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try and do with the bigger one upstairs, is to take this as a springboard and utilize the same ideas with the one upstairs, and we'll see how far we get. Okay, let's start the journey. Okay, so I haven't stuck it down yet, but I have. I'll turn around a bit. I have now fabricated the top part of the Star Destroyer, which then gets placed on top of here, and then we will start to build downwards. So what I'm going to do now, I think, is complete the underside, this bit, and get the bottom done. Then that part of the superstructure is all completed, and then I'll build this way coming out, and then once the main body of the Star Destroyer has been done, I can then start greebling. I haven't thought about the back yet, whether I keep the engines as they are or do something different with them. But anyway, let's get the main superstructure done. But already that's looking better than it was. Right, okay, let's continue and see how far we can get. So I've now constructed the bottom half of the Star Destroyer. I've constructed all the got the superstructure all lined up and fitting, and surprisingly enough, it fitted quite well. And yeah, the inserts inside, the structural inserts to keep it together, are in place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my top half there, and I'm going to put that on there at the top, like that. I'm going to glue that down, and then we're going to see what that looks like all in all. I also put the conning tower together using, because originally it didn't have the bottom. Basically the bottom was missing because it's a toy and doesn't do everything. So I've constructed the bottom part of the conning tower. So now it looks quite effective. I haven't done the sides yet. I want to beef up the sides, but we'll get to that eventually. Well, I just want to construct the main look of the ship, and then we'll see where we are from there. Okay. All right, let's get on with it. So I've put the top on, and I've started to fabricate the back to bring the slope down into a gradient down to the main body of the structure, as you can see. So it's going to look, so the profile looks a little bit like that. Obviously this is just a roughing it out, lots of things to fill in and greeblers to put in, but this is the rough structure that's going to be in place. Then I will greeble it up to make it to give it a lot more detail, but that's what it's looking at the moment. Still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the engine part. I don't like the idea of having big bells coming out. I want to have something completely different. We shall see what we shall see, but at least the engine, this bit is in. I just don't know how I'm going to build it out yet, but I've got some ideas. Now I want to see if I can build out the front as well and have a bit more structure going along the front, just to make it, say, more of a dreadnought kind of idea. Right, let's continue. We'll do a bit more, but that's not looking too badly at the moment. And so by adding this structure on the front, I am getting away more from the pagoda feel, which is what I didn't want before, and making it into more of a dreadnought feel. Yeah, I know I've still got right angles, but as I say, I've got to go and get lots of battleship parts because I've now given myself quite a lot of flat planes where I can build up with battleship parts and make them a little bit more, make it a lot more interesting. So, but the basic shape is there, and I think it's a lot better in proportion. I think I like the proportion of that. It's looking bigger than it did before. A lot more, as I say, a lot more of a dreadnoughty feel. A lot bigger than the than the original Star Destroyer, and yeah, it's uh, it's a kind of a bridge between a Super Star Destroyer and an ordinary one. It has that, as I say, it has that dreadnought feel to it, which is what I wanted. So yeah, it's coming along. We're getting the bits together, and they all merges together. It's all looking good. Okay, right. Well, we'll continue, and now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the detailing. And finally, today, being a Saturday, so I'm nearly finished, I have started to fabricate the engines, and yes, that's what I've come up with. Um, Now, I know it looks a bit iffy at the moment, but I've got an idea to fill in this area here, this gap here, so it looks like it's coming out at more of an angle. I'll give you an idea what I mean. Um, Hang on a second, I'll find the right piece, just a second. So the idea is to fill out that gap by putting in these kind of pieces here, which will then make the thing look as if it's merging in at different angles, multiple angles from the engine, and I think that's going to work. I've got some under pieces as well, which I think is going to come together quite nicely. So yes, that's the idea. That's the idea we have at the moment, and we will continue that tomorrow and see how far we can get. But for now, I'm happy with how we've progressed. And yeah, I think it's looking all right. Let's just turn it round and see if we can get a profile on it. I think that's going to work. I think it's going to work nicely. Of course, lots of greeblies. We've got to put lots and lots of greeblies onto it. That's something I'm going to have to get over the next week or two. But I want to get the basic fabrication done first of all. And I think that shape is looking all right. Right, onward and upward. Let's continue. So moving on, I've had to wait a whole week before I got these other parts so I could start constructing the back. But as you can see, that's what I've come up with. So basically what I've done is I've extended the angles of the back outwards this way so I can incorporate details inside, which brings the angle forward, coming in line with the engine, if you see what I mean. And I will show you more clearly from that angle, so that we still have the wedge shape, but it's not at right angles. It's now coming out, well, it's more or less yeah, at 90. You've got this angle coming down there, and you've got this angle which is slightly more than 90 degrees, but that's the shape at the back, which I think works nicely. And we've still got the nice wedge shape there. If I move that out of the way, you can see it more clearly. That's the shape there. So I think that works quite well. And obviously we're going to grease all that up and fill in the gaps. But that's working as an engine shape. And if we move the whole thing around like that, we have a nice profile developing for our capital ship, our Star Destroyer, which I say is more of a dreadnought than an ordinary Star Destroyer. So we're working on it. Now the next thing I've got to start working on is, well, I'll have to go out and get, is battleships, because I haven't got them. So I might have to wait another week or two before I can get the battleships, but we're continuing working on this one. Now, the shape now here along the back, I'm going to need to make that more angular. I think bring that, give it more of an angle, because it's two step like. You got coming down, out, down, out, and I don't like that. So I'm going to have to look at that and make it less obvious. But yeah, coming along nicely. Right, onward and upward. Let's continue. So work has continued on the back end of the ship, and this is what I've come up with so far. As you can see, I've been able to fabricate quite some nice detailing to make it look as if as if you've gotten some nice depth and inserts into the engine compartments. Yes, I'm using my cassette cassette capsules again, but they do work in that way. Lots of greebling to do and filling to do, but I think the overall shape is nice. Looking at it from the top, you see what I've done. The profile at the back is looking nice. It's coming out nicely. Again, we need some more greebling and some more texturing to get get that looking better. But that's the general shape, and there'll be some filling in as well. If I open it out, if I turn it back upside down, you can see what it looks like upside down. That's what it looks like underneath. Okay, putting it down again, and then we'll just turn it around. You can see the profile as well. That's the profile, what it looks like there. So I think, yeah, I think that's looking nice. That's coming along really nicely. You've got some nice detailing on that. Again, I think I'm still going to think about that slope down there. It drops too dramatically, and I want to get a better slope coming down there, I think. But other than that, that's working. Okay, let's continue. I'm pleased with that. It's looking good. So just some final work today, just patching up, putting on some patches onto the sides to fill in those gaps. Yes, I know, lots of little areas to fill, but of course, that's just that's putting it on in a kind of gross way, and then we'll put the patches on, we'll fill it up with filler and other bits of greeblies, and it'll all come together, it'll all sort of marry up. So that's that side, and then yeah, I did it around the other side as well, just so that the gaps are beginning to fill out quite nicely. What I didn't show you before was that I also worked on the conning tower a little bit earlier on in the week, just to fill that out, and whoops, and as you can see, I've started to put a lot more detail onto the conning tower as well. You might not have noticed that before. So that's the conning tower also done, well, you know, in the process of being done, which is nice. It's a lot more detail onto the conning tower as well. So yes, all in all, the profile is looking nice, and we're making solid progress. But now it's time to get more Greeblies, more World War II battleships, and start working on the big areas along here. And but the Dreadnought is coming along. Yeah, I'm happy to do it with that. Okay, good work for the day, and we will continue. Right, so that's the back end of the ship, roughly fabricated with that nice slope, which I was hopefully trying to get, which I think works quite nicely. And I have also continued to fabricate around the conning tower as well, and I've extended the back out a bit so that it resembles somewhat of the Super Star Destroyer in design, where the back end sort of extended out from the engines, which I quite liked in the Super Star Destroyer, and I've tried to give my Dreadnought a similar kind of motif on that. Let's just turn it around a bit. Whoops, daisy, it's going to fall down. Hang on a second. There, that's better. Yeah, so now the back end looks like that, which is, I think, interesting. I might do something more with the engines because they're beginning to get a little bit hidden. But on the other hand, they don't stick out too much, which is what I wanted. And the profile is looking okay. So yeah, so we've got this back end looking nicely. So now we're going to start concentrating on the front, and it is greeble time. So I've been able to get hold of these World War II battleships, 3 kits of them. 2 of them are the same kit, and one of them is different. As you can see, I have the King George the Fifth, and the I don't know what that one is. I think it's a German battleship. Anyway, doesn't matter what they are because I'm going to be bashing them up, taking them apart, and using the greebles for my Super Star Destroyer. And let's see what happens there. So off we go with the greebling, and then we'll see how far we get with that kind of detailing, and I'll then we'll see what needs to be done regarding the filling and the patching. Right, off we go. So this will give you some idea where we're at with the greebling so far. I have just been basically adding small details around down the front of the ship, trying to get some idea that I'm increasing the sense of scale, and that's the kind of profile we've got at the moment. You can't see it too well because of the lighting, I guess, but well, hopefully you can get some idea if I pan it in more closely and we travel up the side. That's just the start, really, because I want to get in there the very nitty gritty of those bits of paneling and try and give more definition to the paneling. But that's where we are so far, and I think it's coming together. I do think that the Star Destroyer now is taking on a much bigger size scale than it would have done if it was than the previous one, you know, the old style one. But anyway, that's where we are at the moment, and so we'll continue and see how far we can get. So I've come to the end of another weekend, and I've done quite a lot of work on the ship this weekend. We have filled in quite a lot of gaps, fabricating quite a lot of small detail along the sides, along the back, and filling in those details there, so that the back is now fabricated. And then we're coming down to the front. That's done, looking good as well. That's fabricated. We'll do a quick walk around so you can see where we are at the moment. But the actual, I think that's looking reasonable at the moment from that area. Coming down the sides there. So yeah, we're looking. I think we're looking okay. There you go. That's the back as well. So the profile is working. Now I've got to go back into it again and fill in lots of other little tiny details because some of it's still looking a bit flat. It's not joining up as much as I wanted it to join up. Some of those lines aren't joining up too well, so I want to look at that. But on the whole, I think the Dreadnought is beginning to pop as a giant Star Destroyer. It's beginning to work quite well. Yeah. From that angle, get the angle right. Yeah, I think it's looking quite impressive as it sort of flies through the sky. But yeah, okay, we're getting there. Now we're going to start working on the engines as well. So we're not there yet. Quite a lot of more work to do on it yet, and yeah, but not a bad weekend's work. Right, onward and upward. So between the last section and this section, there's been a gap of about 2 weeks. I'm not going to go into details as to why there was a gap. Let's just say events and work took over. But as you can see, I've been able to make quite a bit of progress now on the fabrication of the ship, the Dreadnought, and put a lot more detail into it. Sticking to my plan of getting World War II battleship kits and making sure that the scale fitted with the scale of the ship. As you can see, I have been greebling up the ship to quite a big extent and been able to finally finish the fabrication, and quite happy with that. The way it's looking at the moment. We'll just turn it around and you can see the back as well. There's the back. Quite happy with that little bit there, because that I didn't intend to make a kind of shuttle bay, but it developed itself from the various bits of greeblers that was putting onto it, so I quite like that. And yes, I've got the engines down there. I'll just add a bit more light and you can see the engines. There's the engines there. That's worked out quite nicely. I've decided to keep the big engine, the big bell engine shape, putting in my capstans from my cassette tapes, which add to it. But that's looking quite nicely down there. So yeah, I think we've finally finished the fabrication now. There's it from the other side. I haven't done too much underneath because, well, the Star Destroyer doesn't require an awful lot of detailing underneath. It's more or less a flat plane with the just the bulb of the what's it, the tractor beam, or whatever it is. I don't know what that bulb is actually. Somebody will be able to tell me, but I think it's sort of a gravity well or something. Anyway, there's not much underneath except for some flat planes, so I've kind of left it as it is. But there we are. That's the Star Destroyer finished fabricating wise. I'm not going to do any more detailing in. I think I've got as much detailing as I possibly can, and all that really remains is for me to give it a good wash and put in some nice some paint textures onto it, and I think we'll call that a day, and we'll call it finished. But yeah, so there's the on the whole, that's the ship, and happy with the fabrication and how it's done. So this is a kit bash using the 1/2700th scale Revel kit as a base, and lots of greeblies and World War II battleship parts, and I have fabricated a new Dreadnought Star Destroyer from that. Very happy with that. Right, on with the washes, and then we will post the final finished result. So it's been washed and textured, and I'm calling it done. That's the Star Destroyer Dreadnought finished. Okay, we'll just do some beauty shots and some passes, just so you can see what we're looking at. But I think it works out very nicely. We'll just move around. I think the profile works out very nicely. And we have I do like the tapering off at the back there, which is reminiscent of the Superstar Destroyer in The Empire Strikes Back. I always liked that kind of design, so I tried to incorporate it into my design as well. But that's a nice shot there, and we'll just go in a little bit, and you can see the level of detail on the main hull, and I'll just move it around a bit. See the that's the control tower. Get that light in a bit more. There's the control tower there. Coming back down there. There's a nice shot there. Flying through space, which I think works well. As I said, I didn't do too much underneath because it's rather a flat area. I'll show you what the underneath is like in a minute. We'll turn it around and have a look at the back. There's the back of the Star Destroyer. And the detailing at the back there. So on the whole, I think that's worked out really quite well. That angle there. I say not too much to write home about underneath. I've just really just painted it up really. I haven't done too much because there was no real need. It's a flat surface. It's looking. It's just I've just dirted it down a bit really. That's all I've done at the bottom. As I say, it's a bland area as it is. So guys, that's my Dreadnought Star Destroyer. I hope you liked the build that I did and followed along with it. I think in the end it worked out nicely. I managed to get the detailing in that I wanted to do, and it's all more or less in scale, so it does kind of work. But yeah, I think happy with that. So it's coming up to Christmas, everyone, and all I've got to say is I wish you the very best of holidays, however you're celebrating, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year when I will be going back to my traditional scratch building. I've got some ideas and we will have a look at those. But this has been my kind of Millennium Falcon Star Destroyer deviation into kit bashing, and I hope you've enjoyed following along and watching. So Merry Christmas everyone, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye now.